with the level of respect for older adults in town and a strong sense of belonging within the community. The results indicated that there are many opportunities for seniors related to volunteering and employment in the town. We heard loud and clear that housing is a major concern and a challenge for the community. Many expressed a desire for more housing choices and the need for more in-home support and services for seniors wanting to age in place in the community rather than move out of town to a larger center. We did hear that generally participants are satisfied with parking and roadways and their associated maintenance. However, winter conditions were cited as a barrier, and a need for more attention to snow and ice removal from sidewalks and pathways was noted. So community feedback and secondary research during the needs assessment indicated there is a lot happening to support the desires and needs of seniors in Princeton. So there's a lot that you guys are already doing well. While many find Princeton a wonderful place to live and are satisfied with the availability and accessibility of information shared on programs and services, it did appear, though, there is a lack of knowledge around all of the existing supports, programs, and services that are indeed available in town. Residents also spoke to the desire for more specialists and healthcare staff closer to Princeton, for better connections to existing resources in nearby centers. And many participants also expressed uncertainty around alternative transportation options available to them. Technology and online communications were identified as barriers for many in terms of information sharing. So the resulting actions that were developed for the action plan, the age-friendly action plan, there were 51 actions developed. Most of the actions fell under communication and information, housing, and outdoor spaces and buildings. So those were the three key priority themes of those that participated in the project. We went through an exercise to prioritize each of the actions, knowing that being a small community, it would be impossible to implement all of them within the first couple of years. So there are short-term, medium-term, long-term, and ongoing priorities identified within the plan. The short-term priorities are those that are to be implemented within the first 1 to 3 years. Medium within 4 to 8 years, and long-term are those to be implemented in 8+ years. And the long-term priorities don't necessarily mean that they're less important than the short-term. It just may be that they require more resources than the short-term priorities, and therefore need a longer time frame in order to be implemented. Ongoing priorities are those that are generally day-to-day actions that are either already incorporated into staff's day-to-day responsibilities or would be. And then we have also highlighted the top community priorities in each section. Those would be given priority if funding and other resources are available to make them happen sooner than later. So moving along to key actions identified by the community and also by the committee and through best practices that have comprised the action plan component of the project. So under outdoor spaces and buildings, develop a new plan for a smaller scale, lower cost, multi-use recreational facility. There was a lot of interest in a facility that included an indoor pool, fitness center, indoor walking track was really popular to allow for people to walk during the winter and not have to worry about icy conditions. Indoor pickleball courts and other uses to support not just seniors but all ages. Second priority action under that section was to secure funding for the development of a municipal year-round public washroom in the new plaza on Bridge Street and or the dog park on the KBR trail. Key actions under the transportation section included partner with BC Transit and the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen to work towards transferring Route 50 from a local to a regional transit service, optimizing transportation options for the community. You'll probably recognize some of these. So we also did a review of all of the community's existing plans and policies and made sure that we aligned any initiatives that were identified in those in this plan as well. And collaborate with BC Transit to redesign and expand local transit services, providing improved accessibility and convenience for residents. Key actions under the housing section. Update the town zoning bylaw in accordance with the new official community plan to ensure alignment with new OCP policies associated with infill and densification. So really prioritizing housing and densifying housing in core areas where services and amenities are available and walkability is enhanced. Updating zoning around affordable housing, density bonusing, mixed-use buildings, suites, etc. Continue to collaborate with the Ontario Health Authority on enhanced in-home support for seniors and those with disabilities in town. So that would be an example of an ongoing priority. And work with federal and provincial agencies and private developers to encourage the development of affordable and accessible rental housing within a 10-minute walk of the town center. The key actions under the social participation section. I have one noted here. Develop and implement a standard town-wide communication strategy for municipal communications and engagement to ensure clear and timely communication of not just emergency and safety information for seniors and everyone within the community, but to encourage better participation of older adults in other opportunities such as civic events, meetings, and engagements. Key actions under the respect and social inclusion section included support community partners in the development of a detailed list of seniors facing or at risk of social isolation in town, and ensure that list is distributed to all senior service providers in town for enhanced communications and to support wellness checks. So the theme of social isolation, particularly as it related to seniors, was really important throughout this project. We heard that come up time and time again, that there's this segment of the population that is sort of falling through the cracks, and there may be some opportunities for the town and other local agencies to better serve that population. And the second action, work with local senior service providers to develop enhanced outreach services and programs for seniors facing or at risk of social isolation. So I should note that this plan is a little bit different than some of the other plans that we worked on for you. We do identify in the implementation section who is responsible for leading the implementation of each of these actions. And in this plan, it's not always the town that's the lead. So there are some actions that, for example, would be implemented by the senior center or community services society, and that's clearly identified within the plan. A lot of times the town is identified as a supporting partner, but not necessarily the lead. So key actions under civic participation and employment, work with local senior service providers to create a seniors leisure guide online and in hard copy, and include other services, programs, amenities, and resources for older adults in town, sort of a one-stop shop resource. And support the development of a centralized list of volunteer opportunities and willing volunteers to create a more efficient system that matches interested volunteers with available volunteer opportunities. Under communication and information, so I have 3 here. As I said before, this was one of the popular topics. The first one being signing all Princeton seniors up for the Voyant Alert System by 2026. And this will be done by attending events frequented by seniors at the senior center, for example, or other places in town. The second one being purchase a desktop computer for the senior center and set up an area for general use and peer instruction for seniors who may wish to use it but need some support. So this is an example of an action that wouldn't be led by the town. The town could potentially support it as a partner, but it was the senior center that was identified as the lead on this one. And finally, identify a location near Vermilion and Bridge Streets and construct a centralized town-managed bulletin board for sharing information about municipal and other community-related events, programs, safety information, services, and so on. And the final topic of the plan, community support and health services. So a couple of key actions under that section included continue to partner with the Interior Health Authority, so South Okanagan-Similkameen Division of Family Practice, and local organizations to attract and retain all types of healthcare workers. And as part of the Seniors Leisure Guide, as proposed under a previous section, develop a list of local health services, programs, supports, and facilities available in town. So you can see some of these actions overlap with various categories in the plan. There is a general theme of communication sharing in a lot of these topic areas. So next steps, gather your feedback on the plan, answer any questions you may have, and make any final edits. And that would lead into plan adoption. Plan implementation would be next, and that is obviously an ongoing process. Poverty reduction strategy was identified as a priority of the age-friendly plan, among other places. So that would be one of the next priorities for implementation, along with an accessibility plan, housing needs report, and zoning bylaw, and those all have a connection to the age-friendly plan as well. Any questions or comments from the group? I'd be happy to address those. It looks like my camera might be working again. There we go.
Okay. First of all,
Just 1 second.
it's better.
And make it so you can hear it.
Okay.
You can hear me okay? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Oh, she's.
I can hear you.
We just can't hear her right
You can hear him, Eric?
You can hear me now?
Yes.
She's not gonna speak back.
No.
First of all, I'm amazed. As far as I'm concerned, this is great work. It just shows what working with old people like me, you can come up with. Just a couple points. After we're finished this process, we have two infrastructure people here in the room. I'm really interested. I'm really appreciated that the washroom in downtown Princeton and the plaza, great idea. Could you explain a little bit? I didn't get much on the Voyant alert system.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's I guess that's the existing system that is being operated by the town. And that is, and Mark, you can probably speak to this better than I can. But the intent of that is to provide information. It's an app, so information is provided in a number of ways based on, I think, how people want to receive that information. So you can sign up to receive that information, I think, by phone or by email. I'm not sure what the other methods of communication are, but anytime anything Significant is relayed in town in terms of, safety information, emergency information. It could be events, it could be important meetings, that goes out through that Voyant alert system. So anybody signed up for that program would automatically receive that direct communication. So the action in the plan was to try to work towards getting every person 55 plus in town onto that system, to better relay information related to municipal affairs.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to say was, out of this, what you offered here, as far as I'm concerned, it brings me back to the flood, when we had people going around door to door, and I still don't think we did an appropriate job of alerting people about it. And I just wonder, in the old days, they used to have a alarm system, like a giant horn or bell or whatever, and it's only to be used in emergencies such as that flood. But it comes, you talked about that here a little bit, and I think it's a great idea in terms of something that would at least make people go to their phones or go to whatever to say what the heck's going on, like a dangerous, some danger is about happening. So anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Sven. Mr. Mayor. Screens going here. Spencer, do you have something?
It's okay.
No. Right, I guess that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
All right, we'll move on to unfinished business. 5.1 is arena concession lease, and me and Councilman McLean are going to excuse ourselves.
We'll go to the new watcher.
I'm going to sign them up for a point.
Very good. All right, under unfinished business.
Can you unmute you guys
5.1,
yourself so I can hear you?
The arena concession lease. There is a recommendation that council renew. Sorry,
You're good.
I'm good? Okay. There's a recommendation that council renew the concession operation lease with the Princeton Posse and Princeton Minor Hockey as joint tenants for a further 3-year term that would run from May 2024 to April 2027, and that the CAO be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the town. And is there a motion to proceed with this?
I'll make that motion.
And
I'll second.
thank you, Councillor Gould. Is there a seconder on that motion? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will ask the question. All in favor? And it carries. Thank you very much. I will call the.
Item 6, staff reports. 6.1, arena solar PV system award contract. Recommendation that the town of Princeton Council award the contract for an arena solar PV system supply and installation to Sunpine Solar for the sum of $124,922.27 plus tax, and that the chief administrative officer and the mayor be authorized to sign contract.
I'll make that motion. Oh, you want to speak to it first?
Yeah. If you remember, the town received a grant called the Green and Inclusive Community Building Fund. It's a federal grant. Part of that grant was for the provision of installing a solar photovoltaic system. As amongst other green energy initiatives, the RP was developed and sent out. We did receive a lot of interest in this project. A total of 9 proposals were received. After careful consideration, it's fairly complicated, but after careful consideration, we felt that the Sunfind proposal to be the best system for our agreement. So we are recommending that we award the contract to Sunfind Solar.
Can I make that motion?
Thank you.
Second.
Uh,
I have a question.
call question? Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
Just,
you can ask a question.
in the report, it says it's anticipated the work would be completed and the system commissioned by the start of the upcoming season.
Yes.
Is that anticipated or is that required in the contract that it be completed by?
In the contract, we required that it was considerably done by the end of September, and all proponents were able to fit into that request.
It'll mostly be done on the outside.
Yes, it's mainly on the outside. There is some tie-in in the mechanical room inside. It will not interfere with general operations, but once it's commissioned and up and running, it will offset our electrical operating costs by about 20%. Yeah, it's good.
Where's our Zamboni?
Oh, Pete was supposed to give me an update on that. It sounds like it's on its way. I told him that this was gonna come up.
Yeah.
For those listening in, part of this grant also covered a electric ice resurfacer as well. Which has been Edger's come with it. Edger has been purchased and it's on site. Yeah, and the other thing was dehumidification in the building, and that was installed already. So that's been good for us.
Could you explain why dehumidifiers help lower the, is it not that they lower how much energy and stuff to freeze the ice?
Yeah, so what's happening is if you don't have dehumidification in an ice facility, the cold air absorbs a lot of moisture, and that moisture the air becomes heavy, and it eventually falls to the ice surface, and then your ice plant has to freeze that, so your ice plant actually works harder because the air is wet and it's having to freeze that. So we'd like to take it out before we have to.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out too that it was not the lowest bid that received the contract. I was pleased to see that other factors were put into the decision, including experience, quality of equipment, warranties, methodology, and price, which I thought was quite interesting and good to see.
All right, call the question? Okay, thank you. 6.2 BC Transit 2024-25 Annual Operating Agreement. Recommendation that the town of Princeton approve the 2024-25 BC Transit Annual Operating Agreement between the town of Princeton and BC Transit. And that the mayor and CAO be authorized to execute the necessary documents. Wow.
Yeah, I can speak to it. This really is just a housekeeping thing. It's something we do annually every year. It's just an agreement that we enter into with BC Transit. It does sort of state the level of service, the days that we would operate and not operate, the cost to use the service, and of course the budget. It's something that we include in our financial plan every year. So what BC Transit needs is just a signed document. That's all.
So this isn't representing any changes?
Not for this year. We are working on downloading the Route 50 to the RDOS. We're working with their staff now. We've just out of convenience, we've set the date as December 31st that the transition would occur, just the calendar year. So, and the AOA would be adjusted for next year.
Second,
Sorry. Call the question? 6.3 repairs to the Brown Bridge main deck and pedestrian walking timbers and railings. Recommendation that council approves the repairs and timber replacement of the main deck and walking path of the Brown Bridge as per the Watson engineering report. And that the project be awarded to Gross Ventures Ltd for the sum not more than $285,717 pre-tax dollars. Jared, I'm guessing this too? Jim? Oh, I'm sorry. That's there.
Good afternoon, everyone. In 2022, Public Works engaged the assistance of Watson Engineering through a comprehensive study of the Brown Bridge, the condition and overall lifespan expectancy of the Brown Bridge located at the north end of the Bridge Street. So their determination came up with a resurfacing of the main automotive deck, the pedestrian pathway and guard railings. The guard railings at this point are not compliant with the new standards for bridges and pedestrian pathways. And that we have to do some cross timber structure repair also. We submitted the offering to market, and we came back with Growth Ventures having the best reputation and the best costs. Princeton.
Completion time.
Completion time.
Completion finish.
So Growth Ventures has gotten back to us. We asked that they would start repairs in the after the summer months, so we wouldn't have conflict with tourists and the local economy. So they're basically stated to us that after they've received the materials, that it should take about 3 to 4 weeks. So yeah, so they're chomping at the bit to get started. They wanted to start earlier, but we didn't want to have a conflict with the tourist traffic.
So they're going to be shut down.
They'll be shut down. How we'll start the pathway first. So we'll get that out of the way so we can co-share the bridge deck so we don't have isolated pedestrian traffic for the Allison Park or Allison Flats area. So we'll have completed one project and we'll move on to the next one. So yeah, so they anticipate about 3 to 4 weeks.
So you could work on the pedestrian part without closing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I'll second that one.
Absolutely. Call the question.
I remain standing.
Okay. Okay, 6.4, 2024 road line painting. Recommendation that the council approves the 2024 annual road line painting for the sum of not more than $32,493.20 pre-tax dollars. And that the project be awarded to Art4 Line Painting Ltd. Go ahead, sir.
Right, yes, so every year the town of Princeton engages in line marking replacement and repairs. So for the last 15 plus years, we've been using the service of Hardmark line painting, intimate knowledge of the town of Princeton. They've offered us superior services. It'll be a 2-part program. Traditionally what we do is as soon as they're able, we do what they call the long line painting first, so that would be all our surrounding streets and essentially our long line traffic markings. And then as the secondary crew comes into the town of Princeton, they start doing the crosswalks and all the curbing and parking stalls. So again, there'll probably be one long weekend. Ready to go.
Yes. Mr. Daly,
Yes, sir.
did we not buy a line painting unit for in-house work?
We did, Councilor Elliott, we brought that in for only small batch work.
This is a bigger scale job.
This is our big, like our majority of our painting. The other sort of issue we had with the equipment we had bought was a solvent-based material, and which is unfortunately no longer available. So we're doing what they call a waterborne material, and we just don't have the apparatus to do that. So we can do small batch work still, but we leave the bigger projects to the.
Okay, thank you.
Daily, is it not possible for them to come before July?
Unfortunately, they're one of the larger contractors, and with that being said, the demands are they're stretched. And there's only a couple of traditional sort of large contractors that can take on work this big. Unfortunately, we're sort of in on sort of the list. So we're trying to get through as quickly as possible. We actually had a bit of an advantage last year, but the fires waylaid that, so we actually had an opportunity to do the line marking much earlier last year, but because of the fires that were sort of impacting the Cologne area, Kamloops area, those crews had to be pulled off. And they're essentially their own company. But as soon as I'm able, we'll definitely get.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I will second.
Ms. Gould, call the question? 6.5, business facade improvement grant application, 248 Bridge Street. Recommendation that council approve business facade improvement grant application for 248 Bridge Street, and that council approve the entering into a performance agreement with the owners of 248 Bridge Street for the allocation of up to $5,000 for reimbursement for the eligible facade improvement program and submitted business facade improvement application.
I have a question. It's directed to the CAO. I'm going to beat Councillor McLean to this question. How many is this now? And how many have we granted so far this year?
I'm gonna defer that to Mark.
Okay, Mark's the guy. Okay,
So,
I was gonna include that anyway. So, this is the fourth application of 2024. We had, one application that, was a project over 10,000, and then we've had two, smaller projects, that, will be approximately 1,500, 2,000 each.
do we know now what number we're at for the beginning, since the beginning of this program?
I had it at a committee of the whole in February, but I don't have it in front of me.
All right, take a wild guess. 10 or more?
Total projects?
Yes.
Yeah, this will put us, I believe we had 2 the first year, 3 the second year, 4, and then this is the 4th this year.
Thank you. I'm glad to see people are taking advantage of this. Yeah.
So it's like painting a new sign is what?
Yeah, they're exterior painting in a kind of a light brown color and red brighter trim and the poles on their awning, and then new signage as well for this project. So, what's that? Not the awning. Not replacing the awning in this one. Their total project, it comes in just shy of 10,000.
Well, I so move that we,
Councilor,
there's this,
Second.
call the question? 6.6, prepare and pave 406 meters of new asphalt on Gibbon Avenue, KBR walking path, Asp Creek path, and Sunset Avenue. Recommendation that council approves the new installation of 50 millimeters and 406 meters of new asphalt at Burton Avenue, KBR's walking path, Asp Creek walking path, Sunset Avenue walking path, for the sum of not more than $56,779 plus GST, and that the contract be awarded to Peter. Oh, sorry. Jim.
So, yes, so we have, Public Works has assembled a list of paving projects for 2024. It's a smaller list this year due to budget constraints. However, we have been able to bring a couple of new projects to the table. One of them being the Asp Street walking path. This will complement the installation of our new walking path bridge at the Asp Creek and West China Creek area. And the other one is the walking path at, as we know it, the Bunny Trail, which is actually Sunset Avenue pathway. and a couple of other smaller connection projects pathway on the KVR. So we'd like to award this project to Peter Brothers Paving for the amount of $56,779.00.
Can you explain the gazebo walking path of Burton Avenue paths?
So that is the connection from Highway 3 to the existing KVR trail. So there was some improvements done in the area, but there was no connection for pedestrian traffic there. And we're having mobility issue challenges there. So basically, you're coming over the Highway 3 new intersection there, and it's going immediately into dirt. So
Dips down a little bit.
it dips down, and it mires itself down for people with mobility issues, scooters, that kind of thing. So we're asking that we do that small sectional connection to basically the rest of impact there.
So to the warehouse or gazebo and then onto the trail.
Absolutely. So it'll connect the existing KVR trail past the warehouse and gazebo and join up Highway 3. So we'll have a full motion.
Instead of going under the bridge where the trail.
It's more for surface traffic. It's
Yeah.
more for pedestrians coming off of that area and trying to get in through there because it's definitely a snarl for people with limited mobility.
I agree, and I wanted to clarify that that was it. I didn't want to just assume that it's finally getting done. And the Burton Avenue, Aspen.
So the Burton Avenue and the Aspen Street, again, that's the pathway. It's mired in sort of it's pre-existing as dirt. So again, we're having mobility issues for people, kind of going through there. So the Burton basically is essentially where the new gateway is there. It basically goes from the KVR into dirt,
Right.
and back onto the thing. So we didn't do that last year, so we're going to add that to the project. And the same with the Aspen Creek area. We had a number of people that have asked that we do some maybe improvements there to help the mobility challenge people in the community.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Jim, if we're gonna do some paving to the warehouse around about, or whatever it's called now, are we gonna do some maintenance on that thing at the same time? Because it needs a lot of work done. Thanks.
So are you speaking of the roundhouse itself, Mr. Mayor? So last year, Public Works had done some carpentry in there and some painting upkeep. So we had got that out of the way. We did remove the interpretive placards for rebuild. They've been vandalized, so they're currently sitting at AutoTac right now, and we're waiting for Jackie to finish up that work so we can reposition those again.
Speaking of the same area, while I think it's great to pave that, because I do walk that stretch, and you're right, there's times where it's muddy and it's not much fun to be on by any stretch of the imagination. I'm concerned that that's also going to open up the possibility of vehicle traffic there. I see vehicles using that stretch even when it's dirty just to get to the picnic table there. Is there some way of alleviating that?
So what we see, I don't know if it was Public Works who installed it or Highways, i.e. AIM contracting, but there has been a bollard installed there. And I think that put in there as an effort to sort of keep that traffic, they speak of, out of there. So I think what we'll end up with doing is just embellishing that.
Yeah, once the pavement. For sure. Okay, thank you. I think that would address that.
Yeah.
I can make a motion. No, yeah, make a motion.
Call the question?
In favor?
You have the budget.
I'm sorry, can I retract?
All right, 6.7, age-friendly assessment and plan. Recommendation that council receive and adopt the attached age-friendly assessment and plan.
So moved, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor.
I'll second that. Seconded.
Councilor Flynn. Your question, Mr. Mayor?
This year question?
Hang on. You can't talk and listen to them at the same time. you have a question?
No, I was trying to second it.
So in the recommendation, like it's a lot more detailed in the report that was attached to the agenda as opposed to her presentation. Which there's a lot of information in there, but a lot of it is, and I'm addressing this to CAO, a lot of it is like stuff that is, it is interior health, or it is outside of the scope of the town of Princeton. But then there's some stuff that is well within ours. But it's, in their recommendation, it's tasked to staff. So if we adopt this, is the expectation that we proceed with all the recommendations?
Well, we would prioritize it and, you know, it fit into your strategic planning and your budget seasons and whatever. A lot of the things we actually have under works already, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then if there's bigger projects that are identified in there, then we'll come up with strategic planning and council would identify that and put it into the budget.
Okay, so.
It may be a multi-year.
Okay, so, but the expectation is if we do adopt it, that we follow
Yes.
through on all of these, even if it's outside of our scope.
Yeah, even if it's working with another agency or whatever,
Yes.
then we would maybe partner with them or just communicate with them and make sure that gets accomplished.
Okay. And then again, on it, and Councillor McLean touched on it, was like the recommendations of the washroom and stuff, which reminds me, like, so for the actual final plans, do we have anything that is releasable for the public?
Plan for that area?
Yes.
I do believe Gary has it. Next meeting, I can have Gary do a report to us.
Please. And then the recommendation was also a washroom near the doctor.
Yeah.
So are porta potties an option, or is
Yeah.
that just an option for more vandalism?
Washrooms in general are our target, but they're also a good service that we want to provide.
Yeah.
So one or the other, again, you know, permanent washrooms would be a nice feature at that park, but it'd be a very expensive endeavor. So
And in the interim, we could do.
if there was an event, a large event that's going to happen, we could bring in portables.
But like, the recommendation was about one near the dog park, and that is well used. And I think people try to use the subway, but then that's one washroom for a whole restaurant.
Yeah. And it's not always fair to the
To the business, exactly. Okay, thank you.
I've also heard like the skate park and, you know, I don't know, pickleball, the school's always open and, you know, the arena not always open.
That was one of the main things, was public washrooms
Mhm.
in our community, downtown core, or even, like you said, the bike. Park.
washrooms in general, I think is important.
Yeah, because personally, I've noticed that since COVID, there's more restrictions in use of washrooms from businesses. So,
Keeping the visitor center open longer hours has been helpful in that, because the washrooms are accessible.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm wait. You gotta mute you. There we go. I was just gonna speak to Councillor Gould's comment about if do we have to follow this? A lot of these things will be taken to the tables that we already sit at, whether it's the health table or the one that Councillor Elliott sits on with all the multi-agencies and whatnot, and we can share those, you know, that information with them and continue to lobby those points for those other agencies that are responsible for those things. And we're already doing a lot of that, like CAO has said, and this just gives us more ammunition when we move forward and say, we need you to be a better partner at the table, especially when we're talking about other government agencies.
Yes, that's a big project.
Any other questions?
I'm just, as far as I'm concerned, when you asked a question about when we passed this, you made as if we're bound by it. As far as I'm concerned, if we can't afford something in there, we're not doing it. I think it's a good guide for a lot of things, the direction that we need to be going. But that doesn't guarantee that we're gonna be forced into anything that's that's in there. I just think, it's a direction that I'd like to see us going. There's a lot of things and good ideas in there that I think we're gonna be a better community. If you go back to the paving we just talked about, doesn't that go along with our leisure guide, recommendations about providing better walking paths and all that sort of thing? I think it's right along the line that we want to make our community better. These are the types of things that we want to get into, but it still doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't force us into going down any financial path that we can't afford.
Nice. But I understand. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just more inclined to, like, a lot of that stuff was tasked to staff, which are already spread pretty thin. So it's good to know that it's about, it'll go into our strategic planning, and then within that, that's where I want the clarification.
Anything that happens in this municipality better be going by this table, or the table. As far as I'm concerned.
Call the question. Thank you. 6.8, 2024 equipment financing authorization, building inspector vehicle. Recommendation that the council of the town of Princeton authorizes up to $39,670.79 under section 175 of Community Charter of the Municipal Finance Authority for the purpose of purchasing a 2024 GMC terrain 4x4 vehicle for use for the building. And that the loan be repaid within 5 years with no rights of rental at all. Speak to it if you like.
This is a bit of a housekeeping item. Last meeting, council did approve the purchase of this vehicle, and it is included in our 5-year financial plan. However, we did not, in the resolution, did not include that the funds will be secured from the MFA funding, and so MFA won't fund it without that resolution. So this just enhances that resolution from last meeting to purchase it, and just makes it very explicit that it's coming from the MFA. That'll satisfy the MFA requirement.
The only clarification I was going to ask on that was, do we need there to be, again, who the signers are, who can execute that on our behalf? Or was that in the original motion?
But you're more than welcome to adjust this to add that in, and that's covered for sure.
Okay, so if I can make a motion to amend, to add that the CAO and mayor sign the agreement, the loan agreement.
Question? Thank you.
Now the motion.
That was just going to do. Yeah, I'll make a motion to.
Call the question. Thank you. All right, council reports. Councilor Elliott.
Oh, okay. You would start with me. From my memory, I attended a museum meeting earlier this month. I attended Okanagan Regional Library Board meeting. That was why I wasn't at the last regular meeting of Town Council. They are looking at opening another library branch in Kelowna. And I tend to like arguing that if you're going to spend money on a new branch, maybe you should be spending money on servicing and improving the services of the smaller branches. And I had to make that comment yet again earlier this month. And some of the other smaller branches represented around that table seem to feel the same way I do as well. So I'm not alone in that. But I do feel often that I'm on Exile Island all by myself in that particular frame of mind. They have weighted votes around the table. And although there are 23 of us around that table, if all of us voted against something, I think Kelowna still wins because they have enough votes to beat us if we all combine. So the weighted vote thing, I'm not too keen on either. Anyway, aside from that, there are some good things coming down the pike in the library system regardless. And they will benefit our library as well. I also attended a meeting of something that's called the Two Rivers Events Committee. And this is a group that's forming to build some local events in the community. Still very embryonic at this point, but I will keep you apprised of what's going on with that once the wheels start turning and things start flying. And I attended mining days. I was very early because of my work schedule. I was there actually only when they were setting up. But I can tell you that what I saw looked pretty good. I didn't see the rest of the event, unfortunately, and that's my report.
I just want to comment on, looking forward to the rodeo this weekend. It seems like we don't have as many community functions that get people back and get people coming home again and all that sort of thing. And so the rodeo is a welcome addition. The only part, it had said that it was going to be 30 and 31 degrees this weekend. And now it's down to 29 and 28. So hoping it doesn't go any lower. I'm sure they'd sell a lot of beer at 30 and 31 degrees. Anyway, looking forward to a lot of work and the organization goes into that. Like we say, a lot of people come home for it. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
I attended the mining days and so during the half of it, and there was hundreds of people. So it was yeah, there, and a lot of vendors, like a lot of there were my suppliers, vendors, as well as local ones. Nadine had a booth there for the recreation master plan. Pickleball was there. They had a fundraiser going, as well as Cal Tire did a barbecue, and they were just flying through. There was always a lineup for that. And then I got to watch Mr. Mayor get pied by Gord Frost, and that was a good thing. And they raised, I forget the number, I'll let Mr. Mayor say the number, but it was pretty substantial what they did for Mining for Miracles, which is Children's Hospital.
Yeah, and I've heard lots of great things about Mondays, and yeah, I think it went really well. I sit out in my office, you can see everybody there. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and little excavators, and they had a lot of stuff. So I think they did a good show. Yeah, I'm support the arena. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, we raised over $38,000 for the Children's Hospital, and I forget what the number was. I think it was like 1.6 or something like that total between all the competitors, which is amazing. So awesome event. I have been rather busy, as you will see on 8.1. We did get our letter from Infrastructure Canada stating that we're not going to get our disaster mitigation adaptation funding, which was the money that True and Jared had been working on to, or the application for the diking program. Nobody in British Columbia has been successful. We all kind of got the same rejection letter, just saying that there wasn't enough information, despite the effort of everybody involved, and it was a monumental effort, and it's very disappointing that this is the way it's gone. Sean and True and Jared and those guys have worked tirelessly to get this application. They worked with the province, and the federal government still said no. And that was the story from all three mayors when I met in Abbotsford on Monday for a joint press conference between the three of us. We're a little upset, to say the least, and so I'm in Calgary right now for FCM, and I've already had one conversation in the airport on the way here about what the next steps are, and I'll be meeting with people throughout the week, trying to find alternative ways to fund some sort of flood mitigation. So that's all I have to report right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'd have to ask, is it a dead end? Mr. Mayor, is it a dead end in terms of the Fed participation sort of thing?
The Mayor of Merritt and I are trying to coordinate whether or not we want to go to Ottawa and pound on their door They are going to rise for the summer in a week or two, so there's not a lot we can do right now. The federal government has shot back with how much money they've spent on flood mitigation in British Columbia. All the numbers that they've given so far are pre-2021. So none of the numbers that they are touting in the media right now are from any work that was done after the atmospheric river. So they're kind of throwing, well, we've already done something for you guys, and you guys are kind of ungrateful for what we have done, which isn't the case. I mean, everybody knows the flooding in 2021 was the largest and most expensive natural disaster in Canadian history, and for them to just throw it back at us that, oh, well, we've given you money in the past is pretty insulting. So we're working on that. I don't know if the CAO can speak any more to it. I know Merit staff were working on trying to get together with some of our staff and have discussions on next steps and how do we move forward. It was a good turnout in Abbotsford. We had representation not just from the city of Abbotsford, but Chilliwack, the Fraser Valley, and then a lot of industry, even the Surrey Board of Trade and those guys. So this is a big thing, and nobody's going to let the federal government just sit by and kind of brush us off on this one. So I don't think it's over yet. That funding is gone. There's no new funding announced, and they've already allocated it somewhere else. So we're working with our MP right now and trying to get some more up.
Very briefly, is there any chance the province might come through in lieu of the feds not?
Not with the amount of money that we need. The province was counting on the federal government to assist in this. So right now, no. 1/3 of the funding comes from the federal government. The province had kind of indicated that they were going to try to pick up the rest of it. I think what was Abbotsford? It was over $1 billion that they were looking for, and between Merritt and Princeton, we were over $100 billion projects, just for diking and some infrastructure upgrades.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. All right, move on to 8 correspondence resume file, 8.1, letter from Infrastructure Canada.
You missed one.
Oh, sorry. 7.2, 2024 UBCM Convention and Provincial Meetings discussions.
I guess, this is an election year, and so the question is, how involved do we want to get to go to the UBCM, engage the ministers, and then have an election a month later, and perhaps even it would be a new government a month later. So I just wanted to throw it out there, have an open discussion. What are you guys' thoughts on this year's UBCM? Should we all go, or should we just maybe send a representative? I just thought we'd have an open discussion.
In my mind, what better time? Election is coming.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get in.
Yeah.
Well, and as far as I'm concerned, they'd be listening like they're never listening before. And don't get me wrong, I hate what we have to pay and everything else, but I think over the years, the interaction that we have with ministers, and unless you want to turn around and say, okay, well, let's all have a ministerial visit, terms, make appointments down in Victoria and go down there. But the other side of that coin is that whoever we're visiting when we go to Victoria may not be there when we go, may not do us any good. Whereas when we go to UBCM, I mean, you've got everybody there. But, I guess that's just my sense.
And I will point out that the mayor has done a very good job of meeting ministers other than at the UBCM. He's really represented as well. That was just my thought was, that it's a big effort to go there, and then you know, you could be meeting with these ministers and they're not there a month later.
Is it Vancouver again?
Yeah.
The Whistler and Vancouver are unbelievably expensive. You're right downtown in Pacific Center
Yeah.
in Vancouver. You can't get any more expensive than there.
Mhm.
Whistler, of course, is just the same.
Yeah.
Victoria is, to me, when we go through the prices, when we used to be making the hotel rooms and everything else, they were half the cost. And just as nice and everything else, and you were really adjacent to the Parliament buildings and everything. I don't know. Too bad that they don't. Or Kelowna, or Penticton, or somewhere else,
Yeah.
where it's way more reasonable.
I agree that it's expensive but I think we've been so lucky with the amount of people we do meet when we're there. Obviously, thanks to everything and what's Prince's done. So I think it's tough when you turn down possible visits with people.
Does Mr. Mayor have any comments,
Any comments from the mayor?
insight as to his?
Once I'm muted, or you're muted.
There he is.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because apparently not all the MLAs are going to be there. If their ministers are going to be there, but I don't know if all the MLAs are going to be there. This is a conversation that everybody's having right now, whether or not it's worth it. And like you said, I mean, it's downtown Vancouver. Unfortunately, from what I understand, Victoria didn't bid on the UBCM this year. They didn't want it. I think because of the size of it and whatnot. I mean, I'm happy whichever way. We do have a motion on the floor this year that the one that got the one on the private, getting rid of the private contractors for highways and go back to a public system. That was passed at Silga, so it is, and I believe Carrie or Lyle told me that it's going to make it to the floor of the UBCM. So we do at least need somebody there to maybe stand up and argue that point, if nothing else this year. So, you know, we'll put in as many as we can, and I think this year, maybe if we don't focus strictly on ministers, but we go after senior staff, because as we know, the bureaucracy doesn't change. The ministers might, but the bureaucracy always seems to stay the same. So, it's your guys. I'm game to do whatever you guys want to do. I'm committed to, you know, lobbying as hard as we can, and I mean that's seems to be what I do nowadays. So.
I do think we still need, I like the recommendation of, even if it's staff that we're meeting with, because I do think we still need to stay on the topic of flood recovery, the ALR, and then the municipal affairs.
We have everyone booked at this time, just so you know. So what
And maybe once we get our confirmations, we can determine what, like, maybe it's not all the days.
Yes.
There's time to make those adjustments and you.
One thing I did find is I remember your cost of your, the conference is not, it's a one-time thing. What I found is the number of days that we were there. To me, I thought could have been cut down. You know,
It just depends on the meetings, I guess, right?
well, yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, on the last day, we pretty well stayed for the premier's thing. It was the only item that I can remember on that week, in other words. And some years I've just gone home and not stayed that night. And also Vancouver, you can be there, you know, or, you know, stay for a 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock start. You can leave there first thing in the morning and book in and cut it down. So you, because you'd be cutting down meals and rooms and everything else.
You have to bunk with Tyler now.
Roomies this year.
What's
I'm
that?
kidding.
Roomies.
Yeah, oh, exactly. I get the top bunk.
I guess.
Yep, that was good. That was good discussion. Yeah, thank you.
Now, 8.1, correspondence received and filed. 8.1, letter from Infrastructure Canada. 8.2, letter from the City of Kamloops. Recommendations that items 8.1 and 8.2 be received and filed.
Move to receive.
Seconded, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, no question? You? Correspondence and action requested. 9.1 Cherry Festival Parade. The Suyas Festival Society invites council to attend and participate in the Cherry Festival Parade on July 1st, 2024. Recommendations that council attend and participate in the Cherry Festival Parade scheduled July 1, 2024, as available.
So move.
I'll second.
Question? Thank you. 9.2, letter from the South Okanagan Similkameen Pride Society. The South Okanagan Similkameen Pride Society requests council to declare and acknowledge that June is internationally recognized as Pride Month. Recommendation that council declare and acknowledge that June is internationally recognized as Pride Month.
So moved, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor.
I'll second.
Councilor Gould. Call the question? 9.3, letter from the Regional District of Okanagan Similkameen, bylaw number 2065.03, 2024 noxious weed control service establishment bylaw amendment. Recommendation that council consent on behalf of the electors of the town of Princeton to the adoption of bylaw number 2065.03, 2024 noxious weed control service establishment.
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, make a motion? Or do you want to?
He was gonna move it. Second. You gotta talk louder, he's gotta hear you.
I'll second.
Okay, call the question. Bylaws and resolution 10.1 zoning amendment bylaw number 1049, 2024. Recommendation that bylaw number 1049, 2024 bylaw amendment. Bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw be given third reading and adoption.
So moved, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Second.
Councilor Quaid.
I would second that. And, this is right along the lines of what we want to be doing, right? In terms of housing.
Yes, this was the,
It's a carriage house on a duplex
yeah,
property.
yeah, the carriage house portion of this, bylaw amendment is bringing us into alignment with what Bill 44 has asked us to do.
Okay, so I guess because we're contravening normal procedure for that land, you know, the zoning for that piece of property, it seems like, as far as I'm concerned, this is a no-brainer. I mean, every time we get a chance that someone wants to add a residence onto a property, I'd have to really be convinced of why we wouldn't allow it. But because it's a zoning change, then that's why we have to go through this process every time. Okay, thank you.
Question? Well,
Was there a second or?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
question? Thank you. New business 11.1. We'll go to replacement of the visitor center roof. Recommendation that council approve the replacement of the visitor center roof and that the contract be awarded to all-purpose roofing for the sum of not more than $29,680 plus taxes. Mr. Day.
Yes, I guess the old roof on the visitor center is beyond economical repair for patching, so we're asking council to approve the funding of $29,680.00, and that the contract be awarded to all-purpose roofing. they've come in as the sort of the lowest bid, and the owners of All Purpose Roofing have an intimate knowledge of the roof. So we entrust that they would know what they're doing there. The sort of caveat to the whole thing is I've asked for a third quote from Penfold Roofing. They did not want to show up to send one of their folks up to give us a quote on the roof. So there is only 2 in the submission pile, but I believe that All Purpose Roofing would be a hard act to beat. So I'm asking for possible approval to do that.
Mr. Mayor?
I just want to make sure that this was in the budget for this year. It's not something new. I don't have a copy of the addition, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, so we did budget this year to have the visitor center roof replaced.
Any other questions from Councilman Finn?
Do you know, have you talked to them about how they're gonna go about it?
Yeah, so I talked to the owners of All Purpose, and will be a total roof replacement. There's some gang plywood things that need to be removed. Apparently this is the 3rd or 4th patch on that roof. So it's again, it's beyond patching. So we're looking for approval for a total roof replacement. So the all new plywood in the areas that's needed. In place,
From past experience, it's such a good idea, because it says it's 40 years old. There's gonna be damage, you need to go down to the joist, ruptures or whatever, trusses, and as far as I'm concerned, start with new plywood and then. You didn't say metal, did you?
no, it's just to make it clear, it will be only plywood replaced where needed, and it will be a new
Okay.
pot in place.
That's fine, because there's no problem feeling it when you're walking over it, you'll feel what needs to be replaced and what doesn't. Thank you.
I'll make that motion. Do that.
Thank you, Councilman Good. Councilor Finn? Shall we call the question? Thank you. 12.1, motion to close. Recommendation that the meeting close to the public for the purposes of considering the following. 90.1, G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality, and 1, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. 90.1, discussions with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal executives, measures and progress report for the purposes of preparing an annual report under section 98.
So moved, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Second.
Question?